do own a dispensary, and that's a big part of what I do. But my main thing is I'm a filmmaker. I work full time in the film and television industry, and I do take a lot of pride in that.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Starve the Demon, Recovery by Any Means Necessary. I'm your host, Jenna, and we have a very special guest. Today, I am joined by Erik, who's in recovery, identifies as Cali sober, and he lives in Tennessee. He's both a documentary filmmaker and a dispensary owner, which gives him a unique perspective on recovery, responsibility, and purpose. On this show, we talk honestly about addiction and recovery, what didn't work, what did work, and the many different paths people take to build a life they don't want to escape from. Erik, welcome to Starve the Demon.
What's up? What's up? How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I'm excited to talk to you. Where are you from originally? And what is life like for you in Tennessee today?
I grew up in South Louisiana, and then I was shuffled between the Houston area and Los Angeles, where I finished college. And then in 2009, I had a really rough year and wanted to start completely over. I moved to Tennessee, and I absolutely love it.
How long have you been in recovery?
I've been doing well with recovery since March 17th of 2017. I'm pulling up on 9 years.
That's awesome. Congratulations. First of all, let me just say that, because that is amazing. Yeah. Now, I know that not everybody works the 12 steps, right? Mm-hmm. I want to show the different paths of recovery, and I want to show people it is possible to be happy, joyous, and free by doing something different.
I guess my immediate response to that is, well, I struggle. I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. I have a few mental things going on, diagnoses. So some days are wins and some are losses, but I always consider when I go to sleep at night and I'm in my bed and not waking up with my feet on a cold rehab floor the next morning, I feel pretty happy, joyous, and free.
I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If there's no bars around me and I'm not in grippy socks, it's a good day.
Yeah.
And grippy socks, if you know, you know.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, for sure.
How did drugs and alcohol first enter your life?
Exposure. I grew up in a very upper middle class environment. You know, your family system shapes you.
Sure.
The first time I remember having a drink, I was 4 or 5 years old. My grandfather held me outside of a boat while we were fishing, and I wasn't allowed back in the boat until I finished one of those little Miller High Life ponies. Remember those?
We think it's funny to watch a kid stumble around.
Oh, yeah.
I got relatives like that.
Yeah, so he had his issues, I guess, but I remember being very young and like drinking this nasty, terrible thing that I would grow to absolutely love at some point in my life. I always thought that was weird, but drugs and alcohol have always been around from my very first memories. It was very normalized. So when I hit my early teens, it was accessible and easy to get to. So I didn't have any guilt. That's what my parents do. It's what my parents' homies do. So that's what I'm going to do.
My family too. I remember being a teenager and it wasn't, oh no, you're drinking or you're drugging. It was like a point of pride how much you could drink. Or, whether if you could handle your liquor. And I know for me, being a tiny little girl, hanging out with the boys, it's what everybody did.
Yeah. Were you one of those girls who were tiny and small and be like, I can outdrink a 400-pound man?
I put you under the table, baby.
Yeah.
I can remember, I was 14 years old, drinking. My dad sitting with somebody else's mom on the porch, because all of us kids, all of our parents hung out, so all of us kids hung out. And I can remember being laid out in the front yard, and my dad and this other lady just laughing about it. Not concerned, not worried about me. Oh, she'll be all right. Just, it's what you did.
Yeah, it's sad that it's normalized.
My parents didn't need college money. They needed bail money.
Jail sucks. I got fortunate. I've been to jail way more times than I want to count, but I never did time. I was always able to find a way out, or it was just I got lucky and was able to skate out and end up with a little bit of probation. Mm-hmm. But the mental jail I lived in for 37 years was way rough.
Yeah, my husband says that same thing, that he was in his own prison.
Well, my father, he retired as a senior warden with the state of Texas, and
Wow.
I lived on a prison farm, and in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and we lived in these officer housing. It looked like the projects, but it really wasn't. It was just these government homes, but there was a prison here. You would think that I would like, oh, you should not do the, oh no.
We don't think about that. There's enough shows out there exploiting addicts. Here they are under the bridge. Here they are getting arrested. Well, we all know that, and guess what? I knew that at the time. Mm-hmm. Didn't keep me from doing what I was doing. I didn't go live under the bridge. I brought the bridge into my house.
Yeah.
And it's like grippy socks. If you know, you know.
Yeah, feel that.
What did using do for you in the beginning?
It just turned off the feelings. It was an instant, like, you know, that commercial with the easy button? It was my easy button always. It was never to look cool or be cool around people. It was me suffering with my emotional fights, my internal fights, my physical pain that you feel from these things, and me using. It was fun, you know, of course, until it wasn't. It turned off all the noise. It turned off all the pain. It turned off all the thoughts and everything. It was very accessible with so many different flavors of easy buttons out there. Like, what kind of easy button you want today, baby? That's what it did to me. It silenced the pain and inadvertently started a new chapter of pain that I wasn't really aware of until later in life, because I'm one of those typical self-medicators that was self-medicating undiagnosed trauma, undiagnosed mental disorders.
When did it stop being fun and start becoming a problem?
The last time when I stopped using 37, it was bad. I was living in a normal middle class neighborhood. My family was ending. I was choosing dope and drinking over my family. I was crashing out across the street from my house with my neighbor, my fishing buddy, because it was easy, and there was an endless supply of pills, and drinking is easy when you're over 21. And my problem was I've always put myself in positions where I did have money. I could carry myself pretty well till I didn't. My wife was trying to help me make a decision, and I saw her crying on the porch one day, and I just made this decision in that audible choice, because I didn't know what I was feeling, what I wasn't, to just walk away from it all. Really didn't sit well with me. I got forced to go to detox and rehab. I think that was the biggest point, because the DUIs, the trips to jail, the being arrested, all the things never really clicked until the view of me losing my soulmate and my children. Really, I could see it all going away. That was the catalyst that changed me.
Well, thank God that you got it together. A lot of us don't. Very good point. You hit rock bottom when you stop digging, when you say it can't get any worse than this. I'm not going to allow it to get any worse than this. And good on you for doing it. How many times did you try to get sober or quit that didn't work for you before this last time?
I can't count. The first time I went to rehab, I was 15. And when I came out, I went to Alcoholics Anonymous for a period of time, and then tried NA for a while after that. It was a back and forth. I bet I was in 20 different sets of room in different locations from the time of, 15 till about like mid 30s, the last time I tried to go to one. And I knew it just really wasn't working for me, or I wasn't working it the way it needed to work in that effect.
What happened when you were 15 that sent you to rehab?
Now I know that I'm bipolar, a little bit of ADHD, and I was in a manic episode, and I had a overabundance of some pills, and I woke up one morning with all the negative thoughts in the entire world, like a skipping record in my brain, and it got louder and louder and louder. I went to school, and I absolutely lost my shit in front of everybody. Cops had to come. It was a pretty traumatic thing, I think, for everybody else more than it was for me. I was on it. You get put in those grippy socks and put in a padded room, and then a bunch of doctors trying to medically detox you and figure out what the hell's wrong with you, because I was lying. I was like, oh, I had nothing. I didn't take nothing. You know what I mean? But pills and LSD was coursing through my veins. I got out and I didn't stop. Kept continuing it because I kept getting away with it. Really, it was the drinking where I would end up so sick and throwing up violently, do something really terrible, and okay, I'm gonna go to these meetings. But I just couldn't connect to anybody in those rooms. I had a lot of bad experiences, so I didn't feel like they really worked. But I kept going. I think it was like my fourth or fifth time to a rehab. I really tried to say, okay, I'm going to get outside of my comfort zone. I did the 30 meetings in 30 days on top of an extensive outpatient program that I was doing. walked away from my career and my first wife and my child to really focus on getting better. At that time, I was getting off of drinking and crystal meth, just fighting. I really wanted it to work. And it didn't. My mentality, my stuff got in the way.
Did you ever read the book, get a sponsor, work the steps?
Couldn't find a sponsor that I could take seriously. I think somebody's talking bullshit to me, or they don't make any sense, or they don't seem intelligent. I stray away from somebody who feels inauthentic. I crave authenticity. I crave creativity. I crave somebody who is real with me. And I always felt like I was talking to robots or people who had to be there. You found me through my TikTok where I kind of poke fun at the steps a bit, but I always high five people, because whoever you get sober, I'm genuinely, wholeheartedly happy for anybody who can just stop and fix their lives. But I never could find the authenticity, and I never gave that full commitment, I don't think. I couldn't find a sponsor that really understood me, because for everybody else, I was a spoiled little rich kid who just made bad decisions, or an adult who was a spoiled upper class guy who wasn't smoking crack and doing terrible acts in a subway somewhere. And my battle was a fucking nightmare. It just looked differently from theirs. And I just did not like being judged and compared to the people with the real struggles.
I hear that when we talk about the misery of addiction, the specifics might look different for you and for me, but the pain and the fear, the mental anguish, that's all real. I can put 100 addicts in a room. You talk about pain and misery and chaos that is their life. That's going to sound the same for every single person. You don't have to go live under the bridge. You bring the bridge into your house.
Yeah, I love that.
Just like everybody's recovery looks different. People's addiction and what they go through can look different. Maybe they got the big fancy house and the big fancy car and the big fancy bank account. That doesn't mean that what they're going through mentally and emotionally isn't just as tragic as what somebody else is going through. So I applaud you for being willing to tell your story, because guess what? Not everybody's like me. Not everybody did prison time. Not everybody did probation. That's not what everybody's story is. That's okay. How you got low and how you get back up, that's what's important. Yeah. Anytime an addict doesn't get high, it's a miracle, because our default is to drink and get high and numb it. Very well said. That pain, misery, and chaos. Yours is the same as mine. I'm sure of it.
We all are. We have this giant hole inside of us somewhere, somehow, maybe in several different places, emotionally, mentally, physically. People who just, they hurt, they have arthritis, or they have some sort of physical pain, or maybe they're just really heartbroken, or maybe they have a mental deficiency or something, and they just want that hole filled. It's easy if it's just in a bottle or a pill or put in a pipe and smoke. It's the easy fix for sure, until it's not.
Right, it doesn't solve your problem. Drugs and alcohol are not our problem. They are the wrong solution to our actual problems. So in recovery, we find real solutions to actually handle our problems. I can handle everything in my life so much better if I'm not drinking and drugging. Just being clear-headed, everything works out. But it's not going to work out if I'm in jail, or I'm in rehab, or I've lost my job, or I've lost my husband. I'm a 12-stepper. Listen, anybody that knows me knows I'm a big book thumper. I could tell you chapter and verse out of the AA and the NA book. That's what saved me. That's what finally worked for me. But I also recognize that not everybody's going to do that. So I want to show, hey, how'd you do it? Because what you've gone through with the mental health and the emotional trauma and what you go through with your family, guess what? There's millions of other people going through that right now. Yeah. And what worked for me maybe doesn't work for them. But what worked for you will work for them. So let's tell your story. Let's not tell people that if you don't work AA or NA, you're going to die. Because that's killing people.
I think so. It's easy to stay sober in jail. It's easy to stay sober in AA, in those rooms. It's easy when you go to these outings. It's easy to be in church and be around positive people and not do that. But when you leave those spaces is when you're stuck with yourself and your thoughts, where the struggle came in for me personally and a lot of my friends. How do I fix that part? Because I'm cool in these environments, but what about 75% of the time when I'm just living life and I'm not around the support system? So my last stint in rehab, got medically detoxed. The drinking was the ultimate thing. So Subutex, Suboxone, any damn pill, what you got. Cocaine had me. But once I got detoxed and I did my stint, I went to the meetings, but I met with a CBT therapist, cognitive behavioral therapist, that for the first time really put a little spark in my thing and had me asking some questions, read a few things. When I got released, I was on the way home. I was hanging out, I was hiking with my wife. My wife's like, do you want to stop and get a glass of wine or something like that? She thought it was just the drugs, right? She really didn't understand that it was the alcohol. And I remember that to this day, like, I've got a moment, boys. You know what I mean? But I had to tell her that's the wrong road. So I had to find something that I could help her explain stuff to. And I had to understand myself and what made my shit tick. Cognitive behavioral therapy for a solid year or two, diving deep into that, really made me understand the brain chemistry and made me understand the way that humans in general are and actions with myself and others. And I think that's what I personally needed. We always find something to fill that empty void with. You know, is it food? Is it exercise? Camping? Is it making something? We're filling a hole. I really needed to understand why I had that hole.
Can you put it into layman's terms for the audience if they're not familiar with it?
So you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off. Previous Erik would be driving somewhere. Maybe I'm under the influence. Maybe I'm on the way to get to under the influence. Whatever it is, somebody cuts me off. I'm raging. Like, the F is wrong with this person. Blah, 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 blah. Cognitive behavioral therapy is understanding why I got mad in the first place. Is it because I'm in a rush? Is it because this person stood in the way of me wanting something? Well, maybe this person was having an anxiety attack. Maybe this person is having a family emergency and they're really trying to rush to get to their loved one. Understanding that there's two sides to the coin, including myself. It's when I have an emotion or a reaction, what is the science behind me getting to that reaction or that thought process, and really being able to take a breath and understand why I'm feeling, why I'm thinking that way, and allowing another form of thought to jump in and to give some leniency and some reason to outside just what I'm feeling and thinking, and to allow myself to not only understand my humanity but to understand other people's humanity too.
That's great.
That's kind of it in a nutshell.
I had to do it too. After prison, I had to do mandatory therapy and drug treatment. For me, it was the idea that I'm reacting this way because I'm thinking this way. I have this outcome because I took this action based on this emotion caused by this thought. So if I can get back and change the thought and change the emotion, I'm going to have a different reaction, which is going to give me a different outcome. I love it.
We're selfish. We're addicts and we're selfish. So thinking beyond ourselves is not first nature to us. I really believe that. Whatever thing we got dropped in our head on as a kid or out the womb or whatever, we weren't born with that thought. We think of ourselves first. And maybe that's everybody. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. You're a Christian, and I know that there's a really great movement called I Am Second, where all these famous people and athletes, they sit down and they talk, and you know, I'm second. I'm second to God and the church and the community. And I love that idea that I'm not the main character. Once we realize that we're not the main character and we can empathize with others, is where a lot of my healing started. I try to share that with others. You're not alone. You are special. You are unique, but you're not the only special and unique person. And there's still beauty to that, I think.
Absolutely. And you're right. As human beings, we are self-absorbed. And to a point, we have to be. Like, if I wasn't thinking about what I'm concerned with, my lights wouldn't get paid. My dogs wouldn't get fed. My. But there is something to realizing that I might be the center of my universe, but I'm not the center of everybody else's universe. And what I've got going on isn't necessarily more important than what the next guy's got going on. And how can I be of service to the next guy? How can I help somebody else? Is what I'm doing putting good into the universe? In order to do that, we have to get out of our selfishness. Self, me. I've been to several rehabs, in and out of the rooms, but this last time when it's stuck, my sponsor used to say to me, ego stands for edging God out. The more focused on yourself you are, the less you're open to other people and to your higher power, that spiritual part of yourself that you need to be connected to, or none of this recovery stuff works. Talk about Cali Sober.
Yeah, let's do it.
For people who may not be familiar with the term, what does Cali Sober mean to you?
Cali Sober is, I'm not going to do cocaine, ketamine, pills, acid, fentanyl, and all those things, or drink. Some people have a glass of wine. I can't prescribe to that. I don't hate on it. That's not me, because I know what happens. My version of Cali Sober is that I'm going to take something that enhances me. I do partake in cannabis products and the occasional psychedelic when the time and the mood and the thought and the intention is there and needed. Especially with the hallucinogenics, I read for years and listened to endless podcasts and had endless conversations about psychedelics and how they can help the human brain, the human mind, our neural pathways. They recreate, they bend, they fix, they reconnect. There's a lot of benefits to this stuff.
They're doing amazing things in psychiatry with psychedelics, with microdosing and things like that.
I'm not saying go take a bunch of mushrooms and go to a rave. I'm not saying that at all. But as an anxious person who hates medicine, I'm scared of it. It took me years before I would take a Tylenol. I feel gross. It's the same feeling of me going to the grocery store. I avoid the beer and liquor aisle to this day. It's like a gag reflex.
You recoil as if from a hot flame.
It brings back some terrible memories and emotions and just feelings, and it's gross. And I hope I always have that. I swear.
Right.
I hope I always retain that fear. But after like 2-3 years of like knuckled my sobriety, I wasn't just like I'm sober. I was going to therapy. And I was really working on myself. I was going to cognitive behavioral therapy. I was going to a regular therapist. I was taking long walks. I was putting myself into peaceful nature environments. I was reading. I was doing everything but sleeping. Yeah. After a couple years, my friends are in the cannabis industry, and they're like, man, take these CBD gummies. It might help you. I'm like, F you, man. Ain't going to happen. So about a year of hearing that and a lot of research and talking to some people, I'm like, you know what? Talk to the wife about it, like, let's do this. And yeah, it did grow to me smoking pot. I never smoked pot. I wanted to go fast and see shit and drink. I worked in aviation for the first part of my adult life, and that's you can drink as much as you want. Cocaine's out of your system in 3 days, and party. But
addict math, yeah.
Yeah, but weed, it's in there for like 30, 45 days or longer or whatever. It was not something that made me feel good. I wasn't into it. But when I learned how to correctly dose myself, all of a sudden my anxiety levels dropped. I was able to eat a little bit. I was able to calm my nerves, and I was able to sleep, and I was able to dream again, and I was able to have conversations. And I wake up and start smoking or go through every day, nothing like that at all. And I've gone through ups and downs of smoking more or less. I own a dispensary. I hardly smoke.
How did you end up owning a dispensary?
I'm a thug, baby. No, I just have cool friends, man. I love interesting people. I love people with interesting stories. I love the broken people. I love creative people. I've always loved weed culture, stoner culture. Stoner movies are the best. Skateboarding and BMX and dirt bikes are the pinnacle of athleticism next to bull riding.
And what about Cheech and Chong? They didn't do anything athletic.
I mean, they built a car. It's pretty awesome. You know what I'm saying? They're ingenuitive.
They are that. I'll give you that.
I know for a lot of people it's a gateway, and I'm sure that it really is. And I know that the human brain should probably not be exposed to anything before it's 25. I know that there's people out there that can consume things and they move about their lives, but my brain's not built that way. But it really did help me. It made me lessen the type of medications that these doctors were wanting to prescribe to me. When I drank and I used drugs, I wanted to sit on the couch or go do dumb shit. Fast forward to a couple years of sobriety and an occasional gummy or an occasional hit from my vape. I make music. I play with my child. I listen to my child. The teachers told me I should stop helping him with his homework because I was hurting him, but I tried. I want to go shopping with my wife. I want to go spend quality time. I want to hold her hand. I want to call my kids and see, what are you doing? I want to be involved in society. Whereas before I wanted to self-isolate and just use. And that's not healthy. And I know there's probably a lot of people who think that that's counterproductive, and that's okay for them to think that way. I don't use that judgment stuff. I just want people to be happy, and more importantly, selfishly, I want to be happy, because if I can be happy and good, I can be the best person. I can be the best dad and husband and friend that I can be. And that doesn't mean I'm stoned 24/7. It doesn't take over my life, nor do I want it to. It really has been a great tool.
You don't find that you have mental obsession, physical craving when it comes to that. If you don't have the pot, you don't get all like you would if you were in the middle of trying to be drinking or drugging. Like, when I say drugging, I mean coke, crack, meth, fentanyl, opioids in all their various forms. Alcohol is the one thing I couldn't walk away from.
I can get a mental picture right now. My mouth is literally salivating thinking of shards of crystal meth. How long has it been? 2006 or 7? And I always thought, like, I'm not doing crystal meth, so I could do this and this and this. I'm not doing that no more. So I always could kick the can down the road. But honestly, for me personally, it was drinking. I never did stupid shit until I started drinking. It would open my inhibitions and I would do X, Y, and Z. But no, I don't need weed. No, I don't.
Yeah, that's what I think people don't understand about Cali sober. They think that you allow yourself to smoke pot, that's you just steady stay smoking pot. And I think it's good that you point out that that's not the case.
No. Legislation and our government is really making some moves as we speak. Right now, they're working on rescheduling it.
So from, I think, a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3?
They're working on that. It's a double-edged sword. I know for a fact that it's beneficial. I've got family members that are over 70 years old that it helps them in their everyday life. A lot of my clients are prior military, retired law enforcement, medical professionals, that this helps them. They don't want to do all these other things.
They don't want to get an opioid.
I live in Appalachia. This place was absolutely raped and ravaged by the opioid crisis. And it's sad. And if there's an alternative that is natural, okay, gummies don't grow out the earth. But if it's done correctly in the right environment and not next to somebody's fentanyl patches or whatever they are sitting here, I do believe that the government is finally coming around and they're saying there is some medical benefit and use to this, and other countries have. Let people be better. I'm not saying let's get zooted and go to a rave. If it can help you, use it like a Tylenol. Let it ease the pain. You don't have to have an oxycodone to get rid of a headache. You can take a ibuprofen.
I'm all about harm reduction. I'm all about medically assisted treatment. I don't believe you should drive under the influence. I don't believe that kids with undeveloped brains should be doing anything. I think those are the two main things. Maybe you don't smoke pot when you're pregnant. You don't drink, you don't do drugs, you just let your body be a vessel for that unborn child. It's my personal belief. But I can't tell somebody else what they should or shouldn't do. I'm not in the judgy business. I'm here to do God's work, not his job. That's how I look at it. The abstinence program as set forth by Narcotics Anonymous. If that's the program you're working, then I would say adhere to that program. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. However, if you're not working NA, why do you feel like you have to adhere to the NA way? Right? I have certain values and that I follow based on my being a Christian. If somebody's not a Christian, wouldn't it be weird for me to expect them to adhere to those things?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You don't follow Christianity. Why would I expect you to do what Christians do? You don't follow NA. Why would I expect you to do what NA does?
A lot of the people that say it's a cult. If people would stop being so snobby and pretentious about their way is the only way and this is the only proven method, well, let's look at the success rates.
You're making a valid point. I will tell you this, as somebody that is a big book thumper, I have read all the literature. Pull out some recovery literature and bet I've read it. The first time I read the Bible cover to cover was for spite, because I wanted to counteract the people that were telling me, well, the Bible says. Oh, but does it? But I didn't know till I read it, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing with the NA book and the AA book. I know those books back and forth. So when you say something to me that's not part of that literature, I know it. And I can point out to you exactly where AA and NA both talk about being spiritual, not religious, where NA credits AA for having come up with the 12 steps and a program that works. I can show you where AA specifically says they're not the only way and they don't have a monopoly on recovery. And if whatever works for you, great. But this is a way that we have found. It's interesting to me, the cult thing. I've been in AA meetings where somebody says, I'm an addict, and the old timers want to have a whole come apart. Pieces of them flying everywhere. Really? That's what we're going to split hairs about? I don't think so. I don't think we are. And I'm just loud and bold and scary enough to point it out.
It's tribal, and to me that's just unfortunate because I love that it works for you. I do. I've got a buddy of mine. It's really working for him this time. You know, I think he's on 3 years. I'm so proud of him. He's got a sponsor. He was a touring famous musician, and he struggled. And now he's kind of soft and makes stained glass, but whatever, dog. He's sober, and these steps are working for him, and I would never, ever really demonize it. I poke fun. You try to make people laugh and think a little bit. I would never try to yuck somebody else's yum in any way of life.
Very well said.
Ultimately, if you really care about sobriety, I think that you ultimately care about yourself. And if you care about yourself, you care about other human beings. And if you care about other human beings, you're not going to be judgmental. You just want to high five them on their wins and be there for them when they stumble a little bit. The main reason I agreed to be on your podcast, because I believe that you truly just want people to be free and sober.
You know, I don't care how you get clean. I care that you get clean. And what your recovery looks like doesn't have to look like mine.
I wish more people could understand that it doesn't have to be just a one size fits all thing, because everybody's journey is different. Everybody's battles are different, but we just got to get there. I just want you to be happy that I'm not drinking and ultimately doing cocaine and pills and terrible things to my family. And I want you to, whatever means necessary, not do the things that you were doing, being back in prison or underneath a bridge, or bringing that bridge home.
Absolutely. My life's gotten exponentially better without drugs and alcohol. And for me, the 12 steps did work. Eventually, it wasn't my first rehab, wasn't my first 12 steps, but this was the time that I was trying not to die, trying not to go back to prison, and I dug in. I just got a sponsor. I found somebody that had what I wanted. She was a beautiful person, not because she had a lot of money or success or whatever. She had this peace about her. She exuded this peace. And I didn't get sober because I did my first step. I got sober because she was doing her 12th step. And she sat with me. And I remember when I met her, she was bringing AA into my rehab. Philosophically, we had a lot in common. Nothing else. She was an alcoholic. She never did drugs, never went to prison, kind of highfalutin. And when I asked her to sponsor me, she said yes. I was like, are you sure? Because I'm going to need direction and supervision. I'm a lot to take. And she took me on, and she took me through the book and turned me into a sponsor. I was finally ready. And I read the book, and I worked the steps, and I went to meetings, and I did everything she told me to do. Exactly the way she told me to do it. And I was truly ready at that point. I was 45 years old and had already been 8.5 years in prison. And I'm still out here drinking and drugging like it's a thing to do. Trying to dip and dodge my probation officer. Crazy. Enough about me.
I was thinking this week a little bit about how this conversation would go. And I was thinking about the reasons why I chose to stay away from 12-step rooms and those traditional things. And then I started thinking in a direction I normally don't think, which is Christianity. Yeah. I thought about Jesus, and I thought about recovery, and I thought about church, and how church is supposed to be a hospital for the sick. And Jesus was out there with the thugs and out there with the sick. I work in the film industry. I work in the cannabis industry. And I am exposed to a lot of wild shit. I see a lot of things that I wish I didn't see. I just turned 46 this fall, and primarily around a lot of late 20s, mid 30-year-olds. Dude, that's party time. People with money ready to do it. I'm always that interesting guy that I don't drink and I'm not touching that stuff. It leads to these conversations. I can see a pile of cocaine and my stomach turns like, I'm straight. I'm good. I'll leave that room. I can't tell you the amount of conversations that I've had with younger people that has led to them seeking out a different way, and to them pulling away from the restraints of that powder or those hardcore drinking nights or that lifestyle. I feel like that's my calling, is to be this dude that's intertwined in all this chaos in professional setting, but it's still chaos. And that makes me feel good. I think that that's my place. I'm supposed to be in there dirt with these people that could be some sort of a light to them that can give them a way out, or at least a conversation about a way out. Because I'm not...
plant the seed.
That's it. I love that. Planting the seeds. All I ever want to do is just let people know that there's an alternate method. I tell people about 12 steps of smart recovery. Dude, you should get a church or something. Even though I don't buy into all of that stuff, but I understand how valuable those things are. But I just want to be able to help people. And I feel like that's why I'm here, and that's my message, is to be able to do that. And, you're going, well, you smoke weed, man, what the hell, da-da-da-da-da-da. But then I explain to them life before and life after that and how I operate, and they're like, no shit. That's different.
Right. If you knew me back in my meth days, you wouldn't recognize me. You wouldn't have wanted no part of me. This sweet little thing you see right here, right now, yeah. Now, I had to chain my demon up. I believe addiction's a demon, and it's disguised as a disease, and it takes away our power of choice, and it feeds us drugs and alcohol to get the fear and anger and pain and negative emotions that it needs to survive. It wants to pull our frequency down low. So we starve that demon by keeping our frequency high.
Do you think you can kill the demon completely, or do you think that you're able to sit there and look it in the eye every now and again and try to quiet it?
That's a good question. My first thought is no, I can't exercise this demon. What if I can get rid of the demon, but you can't kill the demon? And what if my demon jumps into somebody else? That would be horrible. So instead of exercising the demon, I starve him, chained up in the basement, too weak to hurt me or anybody else. Can't hurt anybody through me. As long as I don't feed him, he can't get strong. God help us all if he ever gets out. But I do have the power through God, the things that keep me sober.
Mm-hmm.
By being of service. That's the biggest thing right there. This right here, talking to you, getting this message out, letting other people know that, hey, look, I did it. You could do it. What, am I special? No. Here's how I did it. Here's how he did it. Let's figure out how you're going to do it. That keeps my demon in its cage. We got to figure out how to keep your demon in its cage. You can't do anything about somebody else's demon. They got to do it themselves.
You think that motherfucker ever goes away? He's always down there.
I think he's always down there. I have to stay diligent. I can't become complacent. I have to keep my frequency high. I can't be all scared. I can't be all angry. I can't let myself get there. Also, to be in those emotions is very selfish. It's very selfish of me to be all woe is me, alack and alas, I got this problem and that problem. Okay, well, we can name all the problems. Let's name the solutions. What are we doing to fix it? We got to be in what is, not what should be or could be or I wish it was. No, this is what it is. I have the disease of addiction. Mm-hmm. I have the disease of alcoholism, and I believe that they are diseases. And I believe that just like some people are allergic to peanut butter, I can eat peanuts all day long. Somebody else eats a peanut, they're going to die. I don't know why that is. I just know that it is. So I can't worry about the why and the. I got to worry about how do I handle this problem. The problem is that I'm an addict. The problem is that I want more. The problem is I can't take any addictive substance into my body without going off the rails and tearing the world down around me. I'll set this whole bitch on fire and watch it burn with some marshmallows.
I love making it burn.
Right?
The narrative of cannabis and certain psychoactive drugs like ketamine therapy, mushroom therapy, ayahuasca therapy, things like that are demonized, even though they're proven to be not addictive.
I think they're demonized because people don't understand. And they have a fear because they can't see the difference between that and crack cocaine or methamphetamine. To them, a drug is a drug. And on one hand, there's truth to that. But for those of us that have been under that bridge, we know the difference. At the same time, I will tell you that ayahuasca and psychedelics are not for everybody.
No.
Okay, listen.
How is that?
Listen. There are people in this world that got no business. Taking mushrooms. No, I have not myself done an ayahuasca treatment, but I know people that have, and I believe that psychedelics done correctly in small doses with proper supervision, there's a lot that can be done with that, especially dealing with things like PTSD, past traumas. I've had some really enlightening experiences on mushrooms, on acid. However, we all need a babysitter the first time, right? You have to be around people that you trust.
I think intention is definitely one of the most important things. Ibogaine is another one that's helping people.
I've heard of that, yeah. And ketamine. There's a microdosing ketamine treatment.
I've heard about that.
From my understanding, there's a dosage, there's an intention. You don't just pop it and go. You set aside a particular time period. You can go to a doctor's office and they'll do an injection. You sit there in the doctor's office and they put the headphones on and the kind of a sensory deprivation thing is going on at the same time, so you're able to go inward. And people have had miraculous results with that. I mean, I've done a breath work. I've gone to these workshops, and people have amazing breakthroughs. But that's not the end, right? if you open your mind, you gotta still get in there and you gotta do the talk therapy and you gotta really analyze what's happening and what's going on.
I think it has to be intentional and purposeful and towards the greater good. If I'm microdosing or taking a little bit of a stronger dose of mushrooms, I don't know, over the past 9 years, maybe 4 times, I found a lot of things about myself that I was searching for, and I'm good. I don't know that I'll ever want or need to do it again because I don't like being high. I don't like being out of control. And I wish that people could understand that it's not just an excuse to feel good.
You can't do psychedelics every day. Even if you wanted to, you wouldn't get high the next day. Psychedelics don't work like that. But again, people that have never done psychedelics don't know that.
Mm-hmm. How many people in the recovery community, such as yourself, that are big book thumpers, are open to people like me who have taken an alternate route that are happy and have changed their ways and have sought out different forms of being a better version of themselves for not only themselves but for their families? Do you think it's going to be a growing trend where people are going to be more accepting and open-minded about everybody's own journey? Why do I have to gatekeep it so much into this small box of what we do here in this room? Do you think that's going to expand, or do you think it's going to stay stagnant?
That's an interesting question. I see it more than I used to.
There's a lot of hope for the recovery community right now, and it doesn't have to fit into this small box, and it's incredibly exciting.
I agree. How do you respond when people say Cali sober isn't real recovery?
I immediately ask them, why do you feel that it's not real recovery? And whatever response they give, what is real recovery? What do you define recovery as? I don't drink. I don't seek out cocaine and pills. I found a method that works for me after a lot of reading, a lot of research. One thing recovery has taught me is to shut the fuck up and ask questions and to listen to people.
That's good.
When I drank, I did hardcore drugs. I was a nobody. I was a shell of a human being. And with a little bit of help, I don't need those things. I'm a good dad. I'm a good husband. And I'm a good friend. I have days where I'm moody and things like that, of course. But when I'm like that, I don't go run to my weed pen or something like that to try to feel better. Meditate. I read a book that I'm into. I listen to a podcast like yours. Things like that. That's what I do. I ask questions and I try to get people thinking without being preachy.
So well said. Talk to me about your documentary stories, the stories that you tell.
I just finished a documentary that next month we are premiering at Sundance.
Nice.
Out of 6,000 submissions for a mini-series documentary, we were chosen as 2 out of 6,000. We worked with a bunch of high school kids. It was a sociology class. These kids over the past 4 or 5 years were able to figure out a serial killer in the region. Yeah, really great. It's called Murder 101. I do a lot of educational type things. Native American earthworks. I'm working on one. I've got one about illegal chicken fighting. I did one called Subculture, and everybody died. It was about Subutex and Suboxone. That's hard because I've seen so many people die making that. I had to stop.
Wow. Yeah.
So I try to gravitate to more educational and fun stuff. I'm tired of people dying. Maybe I was too fresh 8 years ago. I want to be a positive light. I want to be an alternative for people, but the best thing I can do is be a voice among the people, I think.
What do you think people misunderstand most about recovery?
Not one size fits all. There's so many different avenues, and we're all so different. We have this image of what recovery is, and we feel like we're going to lose our identity and we're going to lose ourselves. I tell people, don't get lost in thinking that you have to give up your spark. You're going to get your spark back. And just imagine with a clear head how wonderful life is going to be. Because we're so lost in pretending that we're something while we're covering up with that with our drugs and alcohol, that once that's gone, we really shine, man.
I totally agree. I started so young in life that I hadn't figured out who I was yet. And I had an idea who I thought I was going to be, who I would have liked to be. And instead, I went off and became a raging drug addict. So as an adult in sobriety, I have found my voice and I have found what drives me and have figured out my boundaries and my standards and what's important to me. What are my values? What do I believe? What do I think? And can handle anything sober. I can't handle anything when I'm riding dirty. I
Yeah.
just can't. Before we wrap up, make sure you check the description below. You'll find links to Erik's documentary work and dispensary, along with starvethedemon.com, where you can find past episodes and recovery resources. There's also a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description if you'd like to support the show and help keep these conversations going. And remember, love everybody. Let God sort them out. Keep coming back. I'm going to keep coming back. Bye.